Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this session, Operational Framework for Fashion Franchising. We have a very exciting panel, very interesting panel today. We have brands as well as partners on the panel. So we'll have a great, interesting discussion from both the ends. We'll get to see how we can set up a framework which is successful and which has a way forward to it. Mr. Gaurav has joined us from brand, and Mr. Akhil Jain is there from brand side, and then Mr. Naveen ji, Ashish ji, and Sunit ji are the partners, and they're the pioneer partners. But they've been there for ages with brands and successfully established their business in their own territory and domain. Just a quick brief on this session. In India, fashion franchising has seen a significant growth, and most of the brands are managing under this way. Yet, I think challenges still stays in terms of brand consistency, franchise relationship, navigating through diverse regional complexities and consumer preferences, etc. Today, we'll explore how successful partnerships have been there and what has made them successful and what challenges still are there, and we can try and address it this way. So to kick things off, let's talk about the key elements that contributes to a successful fashion franchising business and operations. So I would request our panelists to share and give their opening remark on what are the most critical operational elements that needs to be in place from both the parties. So we may start with Naveen, sir.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So, to put the things in context, as desired by Noorji, I think selection of the right franchise partner is the first step towards moving the things. Why a brand needs a partner? The need might vary from brand to brand depending upon in which part of the journey the brand is. If it is a startup brand, the capital might be the pressing need. If it's a comparatively matured brand, so the local understanding of the partner. Of course, all these things are important, but the needs vary from the journey to journey, the step on which part of the journey a brand is. So accordingly, the strength of the franchisee, the local knowledge of the franchisee, is it just a capital intensive franchisee, or is it a franchisee who's interested to put his blood and sweat into the business? So all these things contribute a lot towards ultimately into a successful business venture, whether it is in franchise model or whether it is in terms of COCO model. That's how I feel. What do you say?
Yes, as Naveenji rightly said, so brands, I'll talk from the brand's perspective. So brands, look for synergies, as he put it in another form. So this synergy can be, is it somebody who is just an investor and is working on an ROI? So I am ready to invest X amount with you, with the brand, and the ROI is what I'm concerned about. And B, then we have people who are actually into retail, who understand fashion, who understand modern retail. And 3 is somebody who is excited to be a new retailer. Yes. So again, as Naveenji said, it all depends on the journey of the brand, where we are. A startup would require capital to grow, so they would still say, okay, मुझे बैंक से पैसा लेना है, मैं franchisees का पैसा लगवा देता हूँ, and I'll grow. With mature brands, again, for example, I am running close to 120 franchise stores, and out of 120, 100 are my existing retail partners in the trade who actually migrated to be a franchisee for the same brand. So for a brand like me, it is more important, not to go with an investor, but with somebody who's no retail, because when you're talking about tier 2, tier 3 and Kasba areas like a Ballia or a Sanjoli in Himachal Pradesh, brands के लिए consistent maintain करना थोड़ा मुश्किल है, where the right partner over there who understand the market better, who understand the nuances better. The smaller cities have a lot of nuances also, which probably a franchisee is able to handle better. For example, I recently opened a store in Nagaland, Dimapur. Brands sitting out of Mumbai or Gurgaon working in Dimapur will be next to impossible with the local nuances of tribals and this and that. But then a local partner always give an advantage. But the brand might have to compromise on little consistency of messaging that they have to give, in especially these places.
Hello, as far as I am concerned, I've been in fashion franchising for last 25 years. And we've built a brand, Spiker Jeans, in our region from scratch. So whatever I understand from fashion franchising is that it is a long-term game, first. Second is the local intelligence is one of the key inputs that are required for the brand. But yes, there has to be on the franchisee part and on the brand part, you have to have a long-term view on that. And consistency, the brand, we have to function according to the brand guidelines and SOPs. And if we are able to do that, and what I feel what more important is that how we can develop productivity, because we are the local partner, and how do we kind of find a way around for the brand. And these are the factors that I feel are very key for any brand, any fashion franchising to be successful.
Hello, everybody. Agreeing to what Suresh sir said, apart from all these, a major thing that has to be taken care of is the financial sustainability of the franchisee. He could be an investor franchisee, he could be a full-on operating franchisee, but there should be a plan for this. Financial sustainability should be there. Apart from that, the requirement that the brand has, that there should be a kind of standardization while giving our all local inputs, regional inputs, being local partner to the brand at a given particular area. Our inputs are very important to the brand, and for the brand also, those inputs help them deliver better businesses. So it's a partnership wherein all the inputs from all the parties have a great relevance, and that's how they build a good business.
Thank you. As a marketer, I would like to sort of add to the overall already discussed point is that a consumer who is walking into a store or a brand premise does not differentiate whether it's a FOFO or a COCO or a FOCO or a COFO. There are numerable ways to sort of operate a store. A consumer would not differentiate. For any partnership, and specifically for this partnership to succeed, the only way is to make more consumer walk into the store, more repeat consumers walk into the store. The ways and means of getting that actually is shared. The brand would get into those legacy playbooks through which the operating model will be set. The partner would bring in localized customization and the regional nuances with which the overall understanding of the brand would be improved, and finally we'll be able to set us success when it comes to consumer experience. That's what I think it's an important one. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Fair. I think what they have stated we're going to cover in due course of time within the session. I think I have been on both sides of the table. I've been in corporate with brands for 16 years and almost 6 years as an entrepreneur, and I'm myself a franchisee partner to a lot of brands. So I can relate to it what both the ends are saying, and you really makes a lot of connect that as partners they will be extended family to brands itself and deliver what brands thinking and managing the local nuances, which as Akhil ji said, sitting here or Delhi or Bombay, you can't manage Dimapur same way. Managing a Bombay brand, maybe Balia or Faizabad, where Sunil ji and they have operated these territories in. I think very interesting. So we move to our first question of the session is that maintaining brand consistency. I think this is something which is very interesting. I always wanted to implement while I was on brand side, and now I'm asked to implement that. And there's always a gap in between because priorities are a little different, and the needs are a little different, and so would like them to cover it. So consumer experience is the utmost priority. I feel that rest everything is secondary. How do we ensure from brand standpoint, because there are a lot of brands who run their own retail, that question stays for them as well, where they manage the distant locations. And so is it with partners while opening stores in a smaller town, get the right people to deliver the experience. Whether, because as quoted by them, that whether franchisee owned or company operated, consumer does not know that at all. And we have to deliver the same and execute on the ground level. So I would like, sir, you may start, Gaurav sir. How do we ensure
Yeah.
that from both
So,
ends?
come to think of it, probably it is easier for a legacy brand to have all those set principles and procedures with which you need to sort of adhere to as a brand custodian, also as a partner. What is important is to understand how a new entrant, a new brand is actually taking advantage of the overall partner network in India. And come to think of it, those brands are actually getting benefit of your collective experience. You are dealing with legacy brands, new age brands. Some brands are doing good in marketing, some brands are doing good in product. You are actually synthesizing that information and giving that wisdom of nugget to that new brand that this is the playbook which can be good for you. So it's not only about us as brand custodian to sort of give you a process that please adhere to that. We as a brand custodian needs to take that wisdom from you because you guys are actually closer to the brand and actually giving that insight to us. And I think that's why it is actually win-win. Without that, it will not be successful in a long term. Yeah, that's what it is.
Why should we go in the order? We should break the
No,
sequence.
no.
Ashish sir, you started.
Consistency has to be delivered from both the parties, from franchisee and there should be the overall consumer experience, the store upkeep, the team are very important. And from brands and merchandising, innovation, these are the important factors that drive the consumer to the store. And if both the things are in a proper sync, then there's no looking back.
Ultimately, the signboard that is there is of the brand. So franchisee in some way is also the custodian of the brand. Because how Gaurav sir pointed out that the customer who is walking in does not know whether it is he's not least concerned whether it is a Coco store or a Kofo store or a Foco store, whatever it is. So ultimately the responsibility lies on the franchisee to deliver the exact feel, whether he's going to any store in Delhi or whether he's visiting any store in Lucknow. We have to ensure that the customer experience that he's having, it has to be same always. So one thing is there that the consistency has to be there in terms of experience. And the other thing is that some walk-ins are driven by the brand itself, because every brand has a particular TG who comes in when a particular brand opens up in any place. And there is a local customer goodwill of the franchisee also. Though he might not be knowing whether he's buying from Foco or Coco store, but there are certain customers of the team, of the interaction that the team is happening. So that way it is a win-win for, and both, like I pointed out in my in the first part, that both people have to take a long-term view. And this franchising business will thrive on if both people have patience. And the problem in retail today is that everybody is very low on patience. So that is where the relation goes bad. If that is there, and about feedback and local knowledge, there is a particular part of the collection that should be based on local knowledge. Rest, the brand ethos and every brand behaves in a different manner. Every brand has a different, what has happened in apparel retail till the very past was that every brand, if you go inside the store, they all looked the same. That was because too much of feedback was being taken from the ground. Then there was people, if you enter a X store who is selling formal wear and you see a denim, when you enter the store you are saying denim, and the customer started feeling, where have I come? So that is also in some sense, a part of the collection has to be done justifying the brand's ethos.
Yes, brand DNA is extremely important. I will cover that up once after Akhil sir and Naveen ji.
Okay, so I'll put everything in a different context altogether.
Sure.
So from the brand's perspective, so A, there are the guidelines. Second is the communication of that guidelines to the franchise partner or to a retail company store, whatever. Then is consistent training about those guidelines. Then there's the audit and a feedback mechanism to improvise that audit. इस सब के साथ में there is another thing called a zero tolerance policy. There are certain aspects of business where say I am zero tolerant. And there are certain things which you say because you are regional, now nuances are different, I give you the benefit of doubt because eventually you are bringing in revenue and bottom line both. The decibel of the music which is getting played, whatever we're talking about consumer experience, how does this consumer experience actually come into play? So your lights, you see, I mean, now probably India would have evolved, but still, you know, the franchisee would not turn on the lights or the air conditioner or undermine the number of employees. If we have said, okay, we need one person after every 225 square feet in the store. So this is the planogram where my, the retail consultant would stand. My manager will not sit on the cash till, but he or she will always be on the floor. So these are the guidelines, which obviously they're on paper. But till we don't keep on communicating them over and over and over again, they'll also not get acquainted. It is very similar to something, you know, when the child goes to school and he or she is taught ABC multiple times, and then it comes subconsciously to us. Okay, this is how it has to be done. Like driving a car. When you shift your gears, you don't know you're shifting your gears because you've been consistently doing the same thing over and over again. And especially with brands with a larger portfolio, you always have a OJT, on-job training experience, because you can send your new team to an existing store, get trained over there for about 10-15 days. This is what we try. When we know the store is launching in about 30 days, you get your team in place on the franchise side. You ask them, okay, till the store is not getting done, you please send them to the other stores. Let them get acquainted. I remember one of the franchisees very recently said, retail koi halwa thodi hai. हो जाएगा. And the day the store launched, the same evening he was calling, अरे मैंने बच्चे भेजने कहाँ भेजूँ?
Absolutely. We have that point also covered, by the way, in the session. What you just said, we have a question there. Naveen ji.
So to understand this perspective, let's take a step back and understand what exactly is a brand and what does the brand stand for. The brand's journey starts from first identifying and clearly defining what is the target audience which the brand is going to target. How does he or she consume, what does he buy, where does he buy from, and all that. Based on that, the entire store designing, visual lighting, display, furniture, the mood, the color combinations, all those are devised. So unless and until those are devised in absolutely crisp and seeable format, the same can't be communicated to the franchisee. So the onus of maintaining a consistency lies both with the brand as well as equally with the franchisee. I see the franchisees which are purely targeting based on whether their ROI is coming or not are comparatively less compassionate about the brand experience which they are going to deliver to their consumer. So I feel the brands need to be, again, if the brand is into absolutely the first stage, the brand has a comparatively lesser serious franchises coming at their disposal as compared to the other one of the other senior parts in the brand journey. So if absolutely clear SOPs in terms of what is, as Akhil sir rightly said, that this is non-compromisable, this can be compromised based on the regional requirements. Say for example, a brand might say that CCA should be dressed in this form and this is non-compromisable. But if you come to say south part of India, most of the people, even the top notch of the people are in lungi and rubber chappal. How can, if they are, even the customer coming out in Mercedes car is in that dressed, how can we expect the CCA to be dressed in absolutely the entirely different way? So that is something, the decision need to be taken on a region to region or requirement to requirement basis. Thank you.
Yes, at the end of the day, it's a partnership between two ends, and dialogues, exchange of information, communication as the more relevant ways to manage the worry that they have highlighted. So while Sunit ji said that product in his thing that you cannot be everything for everybody, right? We luckily have a question around it that Navigating consumer preferences. While fashion trends and consumer preferences can vary across regions, what region here within the city preferences changes. A store in a Lulu Mall versus a Palacio in Lucknow, or similarly in Delhi, preference in consumer profile changes. How brands can stick to their DNA and yet offer the right product to them, while consumer is technically adaptable and they can see everything on their palm. They see a reel today, they want it today. If bell bottoms are there in the trend, consumer want it today. They don't want 3 months, 5 months wait. How does brand wants to address it? I want to start this with Akhil ji and then Gaurav sir, and then other panelists may add the value to it. Please, sir.
Yeah. So thanks. So as we all know, a term called assortment planning, which becomes very important, and where the regional players, obviously the brands rely on data a lot. We are on the same POS. I hope every franchisee on the same POS that the brand is offering. So when the POS is same, probably you have that much of information, legacy data, that what sells, what not sells. I always give an example of the trade I am in, women's fashion. So black dress in February is beautiful. In March, it becomes a burqa.
Absolutely.
People don't want to buy it. People don't want to buy it. So assortment plans become very important. And when we actually try to marry it with the local feedback, which the franchise partner is offering, at times the brands get confused. For example, because as Naveen said, that if the partner is not compassionate, so he or she would say, okay, मेरे पास एक short sleeves का customer आया था, वो मुझे चाहिए. But that would be just 1 in 100 customers that walked in. We cannot please everyone. We have to adhere to the brand story. I remember as our category evolved, so we used to do a lot of razor bags back then, and the store used to say, "Sir, sleeveless bik nahi raha." And I said, "These are razor bags. This is for specific customer. Everybody will not be able to wear that razor bag."
True.
So that education now, probably with the help of a lot of tools which we all use or which you all intend to use, that problem is sorted by a larger extent about product training, about planogramming, about, I remember the VMs had to be sent to the stores to say before and after image, and we used to get very happy. But then I say, what is before after? Because my customer is not saying before and after. The customer is there and he or she has to be dealt in the same way that has to be done. So we have to then, because of the size or the scale probably and the different geographies, different intents, so yes, we have to use those tools. Without those tools, probably it is very difficult to maintain that consistency.
Sure. So, but I still have a question, sorry, Gaurav sir from Akhil sir, that most of the brands are working on a seasonal cycle, right? While fashion is changing super fast. We have some successful brands in the country who are much more adaptable to adding new styles every week, every 10 days, every 15 days. How do you address it? Because you're in a business where brand loyalties are much lesser, unlike a menswear or a footwear, which is a comfort zone. So how do you address it? Because Madame has made a mark in northern part of the country, and it's one of the most, one of the brands in women's wear. How do you address that? Because cracking that is very difficult, because lead time of production is always there. So how do you do that?
A large R&D team, trend analysis, working on data. We talk about, we talk about revenue data, but we have to talk about product data as well. Sizes, colors, silhouettes. For example, again, going back to Northeast, which was my recent travel, I personally traveled to the interior of Northeast to understand what Northeast is, because that was next on my target of expansions. And I could see from a Sibsagar to a Dimapur to everything. So from a Muslim belt, the dresses were required calf length, to a Hindu belt, it was required in the knee length, to a Christian belt, which is required above the knee length, and they are just 40 kilometers apart from each other.
Absolutely.
So your R&D has to be very strong. You cannot please everyone, but at least the product has to be there, which is apt for that place. I remember, especially again Northeast, there was a time when yellows and oranges were never a sale in Northeast because वो भगवा रंग नहीं पहनते थे वहाँ पर. Things today are very different. But then again, it's part of that R&D that what you do.
So you are much advanced, ready in terms of fashion by the time production is going. So you are
not advanced, but it's a consistent learning every now and then, and especially when these people from outside India, the international, so-called international brands come into India, they've also actually, kind of forced us to evolve or be left behind. So we are competing not with the. So I stopped using the word competing. We are complementing each other.
Absolutely.
So there's nothing called competition today.
So we believe more the brands at one place, it creates a market. Gaurav sir, please.
Yep. Product assortment, there are 2-3 broad themes which are sort of visible. First, as you sort of rightly identified, is that the loyalties towards brands are actually diminishing. And hence, you need to have your product assortment right to have that consumer come to the brand, because that's the biggest lever now. The design, the style, the silhouettes are actually important rather than the brand. Come to think of fast fashion. The second is, because of this, the profitability is actually getting challenged. There has to be a very perfect balance between your news and bestsellers, and you need to kind of maintain a freshness. How to do that while there is a data which is available, but then in fashion, you also need to take a call basis forward-looking trends. Now, there is no crystal ball which is there in front of everyone, right? You need to take that pun. How are you as a brand custodian able to sort of convince your partners that, don't worry, take a bet, even if there will be a slow mover, we'll be there to sort of support you. So that's something which is very related to your profitability, your freshness rate, and it's becoming more important because the loyalties are actually diminishing. So that is something which is very important.
Sure. सुनी सर, वो रिदम ब्रेक करनी है, कोई ऑर्डर में नहीं चलना है. आप आंसर दीजिए.
It is a tough call from the brand's perspective. Why? Because again we come to the leftover inventory and all that cycle. So just getting it right, if you get it right, it is all very good. But the problem is when you get it wrong, it blows in your face. So, but we have couple of examples, like last year, if everybody knows, there was a BIS problem happening across the country, and I should not be telling this, but yes, Skechers, we had a problem where we could not import products from outside. So what happened is that we got the India product, and there was no product that was above 6,000 inside the store. And we did ever highest sell on that. So what happens is sometimes opportunity may come or some way, but I guess it is risky. On the other part, it is now the way fashion is moving and the way today affordable fashion is moving in the direction, we have to do that also. So I guess we are safe, we as partners are safe. It has to be brand's call. They have to take that call.
We have a point for that, don't worry. The most interesting one. Everybody would want to know, so am I. And as you rightly said, yes, opportunity may lie anywhere. You don't know how and when. So, well said. Ashish sir, please add your valuable thoughts.
Yeah, so as a franchisee, it's our responsibility to understand and convey to the brand what consumer preferences are. So the way brand can plan its merchandise. But yes, how much immaculate planning you do, there can be shortfalls. Like we faced a similar problem to what Sunil sir said in Puma. So there was a difficulty due to BIS. We didn't get enough of imported footwears. So, but we then started focusing on other categories. We tried to emphasize more on apparels. We gave more shelf space to apparels than local footwear. We tried to implement all good practices to somehow convert the customer. Although it was difficult, and not that it surpassed all our problems, but yes, to some extent, we were successful. So that challenge was there, and since it's a partnership, we have to walk with hand in hand and understand each other's difficulties. So that's the ethos.
I think lovely, what a beautiful way to manage a crisis is that you incentivize people more on what you have. Because at the end of the day, fashion is not a planned buy for consumer. They go, they like, and then they buy. Definitely somebody wants to buy a footwear. He won't say, I stop buy footwear, I buy t-shirt, but it's an add-on. And that's where partners come into the play, and that's the insight that we are here to get it from you. Thank you, Ashish sir, very well said. Navinji, please.
As I see the situation, typically we at fashion brands are still working on 2 seasons or 2 offerings in a year. I personally feel this is poised to go for a big change. Already some of the brands have started introducing what is known as a flash range or a mid-season range or blah, 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 whatever name we call it. As we are seeing that fashion is, the new age consumer is going for fast fashion, or what Judio is showing us. So I personally feel that rather like Zara, for example, is doing 12 ranges in a year. So we are still in a manufacturing cycle where what we plan and what is ultimately delivered to the EBOs, there is a bloody 120 days cycle from drawing board stages to the delivery stages. Leave aside the booking period and all that. I'm talking about EBO cycle where there is no booking as such. So I personally feel the industry would have to tighten its belt further and reduce this production cycle, oblique introduction cycle, or work consistently on the fashion ranges. Say, for example, every month's flash ranges would be the reality very soon. That's how I look at the things.
I think time is over. Most important question is here. We'll take a minute. I missed out. One-liner and closing statement along with it. The last important question: profitability across outlets. Irrespective of partner or franchisees, how do we ensure that with shrinking margins, higher discounting, higher real estate acquisition, your rentals are crazy, and business is being divided into omni and online and all the channels. A quick one statement on that, as well as closing remark from our panelists. I'm very sorry, guys, we won't have a time to ask questions from you guys. Please.
My take is that all these problems would be there. The only solution to profitability is the internal efficiencies. Let's know our customers better, let's know their demands better, and let us eradicate our inefficiencies in the system. That's it.
So I would say that we all have to start acting like a supply chain company than anything else. That how agile we are in terms of delivering the products at how the faster time, so that we can help increase the clearances and try to reduce markdowns as much as possible.
Only the number game can, we have to improve numbers anyhow. The sales numbers can only result on better margin and better profitability. So every customer who is coming inside the store, treat it like it's the last customer, and catastrophe is going to fall, and there is no other customer coming inside the store. So let's take it there, ask them to buy, and that is the only way I think we can increase profitability. There is no other way.
Very well said.
So, profitability is something that we have to plan. The goals should be long term. You cannot have a very short-term plan. Yeah, I'll invest now and I'll make profit the other day. Apart from that, internal efficiency is again a big thing. You have to understand how ultimately, as number of people have mentioned, that it's the brand that is customer entering into. He doesn't know it's a FOFO, it's a COFO, or whatever model it is.
Doesn't matter.
So that's it.
Absolutely doesn't matter.
I just want to say that it's a shared goal. It's not my responsibility or partner's responsibility. It's a shared goal. Wherever you sort of can cut through the flap, improve the efficiencies, and improve the effectiveness is where you will improve the profitability. So it's a shared goal.
Absolutely. I guess both the parties have their own KRS to deliver. And if they're able to do it and think of each other, and I think we'll be able to achieve it. Sir, thank you बोलने का time है audience को? कि वो भी नहीं है? Thank you.